investors, it's all about picking the diamonds in the rough. But what if those diamonds turn out to be fake, like the energy company Enron a decade ago? Or what if, like AIG or Lehman Brothers, the company's underlying value disappears?
It's very important, if you're looking for a margin of safety, to understand how to read a balance sheet, how to read footnotes, how to understand assumptions so you can get to recurring free cash flow. Enron, I mean, if you looked at their free cash flow when they were at the height of their game back in 2000, I mean, you could see that they were generating no free cash. And in fact, if you went into the proxy statement and you read page 99, because I'll never forget it, there was the chief financial officer disclosed, okay, that he was a general partner in partnerships, and it was disclosed, by the way, if you went and read and dug, and that he was a partner in partnerships that were in direct conflict with the company. That was a Hall of Fame disclosure.
I think that companies that are fundamentally conservative in their approach, they have a good balance sheet. They're not using leverage. And oftentimes, if you find that the people who are running the company have skin in the game, and it's not that they were given it, they weren't given their stock and options, but their sweat equity. People behave a lot differently when it's their money. And if, a lot of the big frauds have been people who wanted to go make a big killing and move on. If it's their dough, whether they're based in the U.S., Switzerland, or in the Far East, they behave differently. And I think that's really important.
But sometimes when you have skin in the game, you also manage it poorly, right? I mean, there's cases like that.
Betty, I'm with you on that. I mean, what we're always looking for is bargains. And bargains are not going to be in the window of the finest shop on Wall Street with a certified public accountant standing next to the diamond telling you what it's worth. We are always, to some degree, looking at diseased companies. And the critical thing is to understand whether the disease is terminal, as in the case of the banks. And that's why avoiding leverage, which will convert a temporary loss into a permanent loss faster than you can blink your eyes, is critical. But it's also that you want to be willing to look at things that are really potentially very unattractive. I think what you want to focus on beyond the economics is things that outside Italy they can't lie about. So that, for example, dividends and buybacks are things that they can't really misrepresent because there's another side to that transaction. How much cash they have, again, outside Italy and Parmalat is very hard to misrepresent. And their debt, because there's another side to that transaction. If he's increased the sales from $8 billion to $26 billion, and basically what's left to invest is 16 cents per dollar of sales, those are numbers that, from an economic basis, you can rely on, and that's a very good number.
You're looking for consistency, but you're also looking for numbers that you can prove.
One of the lessons of 2008, expressed to me by Seth Klarman, who's a noted expert investor of great standing, said you can't avoid having to go into businesses outside the company and fact-check whether what they're saying is true. And so, for example, with AIG, the financial services business in London, everything was faked. But if you listen to the public expressions from the management, they'd say everything was fine. The way you knew about it, according to what Seth suggested, is you had to go to the actual markets in which they were dealing. And the market participants would have told you, those guys just, it can't be right. That fraud was revealable if you went to the direct market to get a corroboration. That's very valuable.
They were doing unbelievably stupid things.
Yeah.
So they were writing credit default insurance on Dubai sovereign debt at 4 basis points. That means that a country in the most risky area of the world has one chance in 2,500 years of defaulting? I don't think so.
Still ahead, Warren Buffett bet on Burlington Northern partly because of his respect for CEO Matthew Rose. But for others,
I've lost the most money when I went out and interviewed management.
factoring leadership into value investing decisions. That's when we return. Warren Buffett is famous for picking companies he believes are well run and then leaving management alone. But evaluating leadership can be a tricky business, especially in today's global economy, where CEOs may be halfway around the world.
It's just plain old more difficult, especially in markets where they don't speak English as a native tongue and where corporate cultures are different. I personally find that through a handful of very well-positioned global enterprises, you can participate indirectly and very efficiently in growth in the parts of the world that you may otherwise try to secure a stake in by buying local companies. When I was with the head of a confectionery company called Lotte Confectionery in Korea in 1999, and the vice chairman met with us through an interpreter, and one of us asked the question, how does your cash flow prospect look for next year? And the interpreter and the senior executive talked for 45 minutes. And the answer back to us was better. And so much went on that we weren't privy to, that it really suggests that you're at a very serious risk if you can't penetrate that impervious skin.
Our company does not talk to management. We do not interview management because we worry more about what management is doing as opposed to what they are saying. And you could read what they are saying by reading every research report. So when you went to interview management in Korea, it just made me up that we are different. We evaluate management by how they report and what they say and what is demonstrable in terms of their strategy.
But isn't part of the due diligence, though, is you're meeting management? You're seeing who it is that's running the company.
I meet them. They have to report. You can read their strategy. You can read their strategy in the financial statements. And in fact, in my career, I've lost the most money when I went out and interviewed management.
That wouldn't be your experience.
No, I'm afraid not. I mean, I think it's a real special feature that you have the privilege of learning about business through management, and you find some terrific talents. And yet I confided this with a colleague of mine in the investment business when another famous investor said exactly what Bob said. And I turned to him and said, could that possibly be possible that somebody would? And he said, in his opinion, it really is just a question of comfort. It's not what he does. I spend a lot of time with management.
I don't care about management. I really do care. It's a very important ingredient. Don't misread what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Tom. It's just that I don't get my information by going there and talking face to face because I don't think you're going to get an unbiased, like if you want to talk about my children, I'm not going to tell you anything bad about them.
I think people matter. And what I've really learned in the last number of years, it doesn't matter what somebody's passport is. It just matters, are they good and do they have integrity? Mm-hmm. And there's wonderful people all over the planet. And that's, I think, the point about value investing, traveling.
And I come exactly in the middle. I think you should talk to management, but you should know the answers to 2/3 of the questions you ask them ahead of time. And then you'll be able to rely on what they say if they're on the answers you don't know, if you get honest answers to the ones you know.
Management, global reach, fraud, those are just some of the things that value investors have to deal with today. Where Benjamin Graham and David Dodd could look at a balance sheet and find intrinsic value, today's investors are deluged with information that can leave the most savvy financier perplexed, which is why those who stand at the top of the value investing heap, like Warren Buffett, are even more impressive. Thanks for watching. I'm Betty Lou.